guys, how's it going? So today I'm planting a couple of honeyberries. I went down to the garden center yesterday. Of course, they've been getting in lots of new loads of things, and I spotted 2 honeyberries that I'm very excited about. I tried honeyberries years ago. I didn't realize some of the key details about this plant, like it's best to have 2 different varieties for cross-pollination, and I wondered why I was having such poor fruit set. So now that I know some of these details, I'm super excited to try again. Before I get into it, you might know them by the name of Hascap. In fact, I think that's how Proven Winners even refers to them. It's a part of their Yesberry line. There's 4 varieties that they have, and I've got 2 of them here. This one's called Sugar Pie, and this one right here I think is the newest to the line, and it's called Honey Bunch. I'm going to be planting both of these individually in containers, larger containers, so they can live here for a little while, because I want these to go out by our cut flower garden and our orchard. We're planning on putting some blackberries and raspberries out there as well, and I kind of want all fruit production to be out there, but I'm not ready to plant them in the ground yet. So I figured containers would be kind of nice. They're a nice looking shrub anyway though. They're part of the honeysuckle family, but they're a shrub type, not a vine, and they are not invasive. They haven't proven themselves to be the type that want to spread everywhere, which is really nice. Because you know, like blackberries and raspberries, you put those in and you got to be ready for it, because they will want to spread around, but these stay nice and compact. In fact, out of the line of 4, these are the 2 smaller ones. Like the Sugar Pie, I think grows about 4 to 4.5 feet tall and about 4 feet wide. And then this one's even a little bit shorter. So I think 4 feet tall and about 3 to 3.5 feet wide. So the berries on these are very reminiscent of a blueberry. They look very similar in color, texture. The skin is very thin. They do have seeds, but they're insignificant, just like a blueberry. I mean, when you eat a blueberry, you don't think like, oh, I'm eating seeds. It's kind of the same thing, but they're longer and bigger. So I think they clock in right at about 0.8 and 0.9 inches, like right under an inch. That's a pretty good sized berry. And then there is a chart I was looking at that did indicate the average yield of each of these varieties at maturity. So the Honey Bunch variety yields about 4.8 pounds, and this one, the Sugar Pie, yields about 6.2 pounds. And then they also indicated the Brix level, which a Brix scale is the measurement of sugars in a fruit. And so a watermelon like averages at about 12 on the Brix scale. The Sugar Pie averages at about 15.6, and this one at about 13.7, I think, or right around there. Anyway, so a little sweeter than a watermelon. So I did already mention that it's best to have 2 varieties to cross-pollinate with each other in order to get maximum yield. There are 4 varieties in the Yesberry line though. There's the Sugar Pie, Honey Bunch, Maxi, and Solo. If you only have room for 1 honeyberry plant, the Solo is the best one to put on its own. It is termed self-fruitful or self-fertile, so you don't necessarily need to have 2, but it still will produce better if you do have 2. In fact, all of the varieties have flowers that have both male and female parts, so technically you don't need to have 2. You'll still get berries, even if you only plant 1. Like if I were just to plant the Sugar Pie, I would get berries, but not near as many as I would get with 2 of them. And you need to plant them within 25 feet rather of each other for best cross-pollination. And a few of the other basics, they're a zone 3 through 7, so they're a great one if you're going to want to containerize your plant like me. We are in a zone 6, and it's best to plant, if you're planning on wintering things over in containers, something that's rated 2 zones colder than your growing zone. So for me, technically planting a zone 4 plant in a container, I've got a 2 zone buffer, so they winter over much better in containers, and this one's even 1 zone lower than I need it to be, which is great. They do like full apart sun, so minimum of 4 to 6 hours a day, more if possible. They're not fussy about soil pH. That's the other wonderful thing about these, because blueberries in our area, it's just almost impossible. I still try to grow them in containers, but even our water's high pH. So I do still struggle a little bit. And so to have a plant that's not particular about pH, they just want their soil to be well draining, is really nice. I shouldn't have any problem at all with them in containers. So now I'm just going to pot this one up. I know that this is an enormous pot for this little guy, but they do get quite large, and I only want to pot them once, and I want to move them out to the cut flower garden. Even though we're not really ready for them out there, we're putting in a couple rows of raspberries. Did I already say that? And I want to put them on the ends of each row. I think it'll look really nice. You might even be able to see in the background, I've got the gator with the other pot, which I'm not going to lift down to this area. I'll pot it once we get it out there because it's way too heavy. Anyway, so like I said, I'm going to use the regular organic potting mix here. And then a little bit of Biotone starter fertilizer mixed in. So let's do that really quick, and then we can kind of take a look. I'm going to probably feel the need to add some annuals around it. You can just see it now. it's gonna look too scant. Oh, you might also notice I have drip run already. So we remembered this time. We won't hook it up to drip until we have it in its spot, but at least we'll have the capability of doing it without the tube showing. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little biotone in right now. It's more at the root zone anyway. In future years, you can fertilize when they start to break buds in the spring with something that's formulated for woody plants. So you can use plant tone, you could use berry tone. Yeah, berry tone would be great. Yeah. That's why I keep you around. I'm gonna mix this into the soil. They're not particularly hungry plants, so they don't need super fertile soil or anything like that. Tubing underneath it's making it rock though. It's kind of inconvenient. Pretty good looking root ball. I'd take, no, I better leave that on. I need to make a nicer looking sign though for it. Okay, that looks really good. So when I'm planting something like this in a container this size, unless it's a giant container, I would recommend that you fill it all the way to the bottom with soil, because this plant, I am intending on keeping it in this container for quite a long time, and I feel like it needs to have, I mean, a shrub or a tree especially needs to have that room for root growth. If you're planting little annuals and things like that, it may be a little bit of a different story. There has been a time or two where I have filled like the big galvanized tubs with things in the bottom just because I'm planting annuals and they don't need that kind of root growth or room for root growth. But if you're planting something that you want to overwinter and you want it to live in that container for a while, fill it all the way with soil. It'll save you so much headache. It'll insulate the roots of your plants better. It'll keep moisture levels better, nutrient levels better, and just probably an overall healthier plant for a lot longer. All right, now for drip, technically I only need one of these, unless I decide to plant some annuals, which I could definitely do that. But I might replace this with the brown drip tubing as well. I don't know, we've kind of been shifting to that. This is the drip that was in there last year, and that's the reason why I remembered it, because it was already in the pot. Okay, that looks pretty good for now. The last thing I wanted to talk about is pruning, because it's very important to know when to prune this one, because it does bloom and fruit on old wood, which means the time to prune it is immediately after it's done bearing its fruit that year, which they typically ripen, their fruit ripens about mid to late June or so. And the growers recommend that you don't prune it all for the first 3 years that it's in the ground. So you just plant it and let it do its thing, knowing that since it's going to bloom and fruit on old wood, you might need to just kind of like spread the branches apart a little bit and look for the fruit on the interior of the plant. And then once your plant's more established, you come in and you just prune the tips. So you come in and prune the tip out, which encourages side shoots or lateral growth, and that's where your best growth in fruiting will be. That's where the best fruit set will be. And the fruit supposedly keeps on the plant for a very long time. So once the fruit starts to turn its color, sometimes it can take a couple weeks before the sugar is condensed and it's sweet enough to eat, but those fruit will stay and they stick around for a long time, and it lets the whole plant kind of like the whole fruit set have a chance to almost ripen at the same time. And then that way you can pick really at one, not one time probably exactly, but close to it. Okay, so this is like the most dinky looking pot I've planted in a long time. We're gonna get this into the gator. I'm gonna pot this one either in the gator or in the location we're gonna put it. So we'll head out to the cut flower garden. All right, looks good. Cleaning those, babe? Good job. right guys, so here we are at one of the entrances to our cut flower garden. We're kind of standing right in front of the orchard. This is not where they're going to end up staying because the raspberry beds are going to go in beyond the cut flower garden, but I kind of want these out of the way, and they're near the orchard where I'm already having to string the hose out to water since we don't have water piped into any of these areas yet. So this is a really good location for now. So they will be in full sun. They're within 15 feet of each other, so we're within that 25-foot maximum for pollination, and I think they'll be really happy. The other thing that I didn't mention is that they are said to be higher in antioxidants and 3 times higher in vitamin C than blueberries, which I think is pretty neat. Anyway, I'll be able to share some updates as these things grow, and hopefully we get to taste some berries off of these shrubs this year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.